Our childhood memories are our most precious possessions until something awakens the worst. Are you ready to confront what your mind hid to protect you? Childhood memories are meant to be soft, warm, and nostalgic, like sunlight radiating through a dusty window. But some memories are so traumatic that our brain represses them, hides them like splinters under the skin, protecting us from the horror, the depravity we witnessed. My brain did a good job blocking it out for 25 years of my life, but the tweezer in the form of 7 seemingly innocent words pulled the splinter out. It was the week before my son Blake's 6th birthday when he asked me this one triggering question: can I have clown at my party? That's when I started remembering him. Zippy. He wasn't like the goofy clowns on TV. No squeaky nose or rainbow wig. He wore red velvet and old-fashioned gloves, with 5 extra fingers stitched into each one. His face was pale, like painted porcelain. He had beady black eyes with no white corneas, just a void of darkness. We all assumed he wore contacts. His mouth was twisted into a gaping smile, not the cute or comical kind, but the deeply unsettling type of smile you'd see on a horror movie creature. And the worst part, he didn't juggle, didn't speak much, didn't ride a unicycle, spreading laughter and joy. He just watched. He was at every birthday party in Holloway Ridge back in the late 2000s. No one ever remembered hiring him or even questioned the party hosts. No one knew who he was under the makeup or saw him outside of parties. He just seemed to show up. And now, more than 20 years later, I still remember the way he moved. Not like a man, not even like a puppet, more like something pretending to understand how bodies work. His elbows bent too far. His knees didn't always face the right direction. But no one noticed. They laughed, took photos, thought it was an eccentric little gimmick. I didn't remember the mirror game until I saw one in a salvo shop last week. It wasn't even the same kind, but something about its warped and scratched surface made my lungs seize. He called it "Who's Hiding in the Reflection." He'd bring us into the dark bathroom one by one. No adults. Just him, the candle, and the mirror. He'd whisper, "Say your name backward. Say it with your real voice. Let your reflections say hello." Most kids laughed at the reactions until it was their turns. I never did. When I said my name backward, an A, something changed in the glass. The candlelight bent sideways. My reflection smiled, but I didn't. She had too many teeth. Her skin sagged like she'd been wearing it for too long. And her eyes were black and beady. They weren't mine. They were his. I faintly remember him muttering something cryptic and ominous under his breath. "Not the right fit. The other one will do." After that party, I stopped having birthdays. My mom said I asked her to. I don't remember doing that. I only remember the smell of his wet velvet gloves and something hidden behind that evil smile. But lately, things have been surfacing, as if they were intentionally swept under the rug and the illusion had just been lifted. And it wasn't just me. Last Thursday, I got a message from someone I used to go to school with. "Hi Yana, how are you?" Random AF question, but do you remember Zippy the clown? My sister saw him last week at her son's party. He gave her kid a balloon dog with teeth. I want to laugh in disbelief. But then she sent a photo. The balloon wasn't latex. It was some waxy, yellowed material. The shape was wrong. The dog's belly was stitched shut with black thread, like something had been inserted and sealed inside. The eyes were thumbtacks. The teeth resembled actual teeth. Baby teeth. I asked my mother if she remembered him. She froze. Her hand started trembling, and she dropped her coffee mug. The glass shattered and molten liquid ran all over her freshly mopped floorboards. She seemed unfazed by the glass, just frozen in place. "You weren't supposed to remember." She finally spoke, soft and barely audible. "What did he do?" I asked. She looked away. "Your father and I made a choice." That sentence changed everything. It was so cryptic, but repressed memories started flooding my brain, like a malfunctioning VHS player switching tapes every few seconds. My body turned to ice. I didn't breathe, didn't blink. "Why didn't you tell me?" She swallowed. "Because he said you'd be safe for now." I rummaged through a box in the attic later that night, still in denial. It was labeled EB. Inside there was a drawing, faded and torn. 2 girls holding hands. One smiling, one faceless. A half-melted birthday candle shaped like a number 6. A velvet glove, too small for an adult hand, stained with red at the fingertips. A photograph of me. Only it wasn't. She had my haircut, my dress, but her face was blurred out, as if her facial features had been erased from the photo. On the back, one to keep, one to wear. I found a VHS tape tucked to the bottom of the box. It was labeled only with the number 6 written in thick, red crayon, smeared as if someone had pressed too hard. I still had an old player in the garage, so I brought it into the lounge, closed the blinds, and nervously pressed play. The footage was grainy, and some moments were incomprehensible due to static, warped and jittery like the tape had been left in the sun too long. But I recognized the garden, the sagging clothesline, the half-collapsed tent, and then us, 2 little girls, matching dresses, identical smiles, both blowing out candles together. The image shook, distorted, then settled again. There he was, Zippy the clown. He loomed in the background, head tilted, limbs stiff like he'd been hung on strings. He didn't move unless he thought no one was watching. But the camera caught it. Little twitches, head snapping to one side, fingers clenching, releasing, clenching again. Inhuman and unorthodox movements. Then, without warning, the footage jumped. An ear-piercingly loud static buzz screeched through the speakers. Now he was in front of the camera. Close. Too close. Filling the frame. His mask didn't reflect the light like plastic. It absorbed it, like old, rotting flesh lacquered with something sickly sweet. He didn't speak at first. He just stared. His mouth began to move, but there was no sound. Just a low, wet clicking noise, like teeth grinding behind the paint. Then the audio warped back into place, and he spoke. Slow, measured, childlike but ominous. Yana Weaver. I froze. That was my name after marriage. I hadn't even met my husband when that tape was recorded. Did you think I forgot? He giggled. High, broken and sinister, like a balloon stretching too far before it bursts. You were always the tighter fit. His disturbing grin grew wider and more unsettling. A flake of dried red curled off the corner of his lips, like peeling wallpaper. I liked her better, you know. The other one. Her screams when I was skinning her were like music to my ears. He reached toward the lens, and the video glitched, screen bending like heat waves. Static bled from the edges. But I haven't forgotten about you, because things that don't fit stretch nicer over time. Then he leaned in, and I could see the depravity behind those pitch-black eyes. His voice dropped to a rasp, an animalistic growl, almost. I'll try your flesh on again soon. He turned, walked backward, impossibly fluid, still staring directly at the camera as his body faded into the background. One to keep, he whispered. One to wear. He blurred into background, and the sounds of the birthday party resumed. I didn't sleep that night, because what on earth had just happened? Surely I was hallucinating. Stress-induced, I bet. The house was eerily quiet, almost too quiet. The air felt heavy, and the floorboards creaked a lot more frequently than usual. I could hear noises in my son's room down the hall, but when I went to check on him, he was fast asleep. But there, resting on the drawer, was a balloon giraffe. Its legs were tied in knots. Its neck hung limp. Its eyes were marbles, deep red, almost veined. And inside its stomach, something moved when I touched it. The slow possession. I confronted my mom again. What did you give him? She didn't speak, just handed me a letter. It was old, mildewed, and smelled like rust. There was no stamp, just a wax seal pressed in the shape of a hand with an abnormal amount of fingers. Inside, scrawled hastily in lipstick red ink. Every parent chooses. One to keep, one to wear. When they stop fitting, I'll return for the other. I could feel him getting closer. It wasn't just traumatic memories and hallucinations anymore. I could feel his presence drawing near. I don't sleep anymore. Not really. Because the silence in this house isn't real silence. It hums. It vibrates. It breathes. The walls groan like lungs stretched too thin. The air feels thick with something not quite present, but not gone either. And at night, the baby monitor crackles. Not white noise. Something closer to a breath. A wet, wheezing laugh like a dying man choking on his last meal. This morning, Blake looked at me with eyes too old for his little face. He smiled wide, wider than humanly possible, and said, "Zippy's almost inside now." I asked what he meant. He just tilted his head, and for a split second, I swear his skin didn't fit right. Like something underneath was stretching it, breaking it in. His eyes flickered black. Too long, too deep, too familiar. I don't know what Zippy is. A demon? A god? A skinwalker in a velvet circus suit? Maybe he's older than those names. Maybe he's the reason we invented them. All I know is that he feeds on forgetfulness. He grows in the gaps, in the lies we tell ourselves about what never happened. And once I remembered, once the illusion cracks, you start to feel it. The seams at the edges of my skin, the zipper teeth beneath my spine, the gloved hands slipping into my flesh like a costume. I wasn't spared. I was saved for later, savored like dessert after a rich main course. And now he's coming to try me on. The stench of rotting balloons filled the air, settling in my throat, reminding me of that sickly sweet smell from his gloves. Every whisper in the house vibrated, every faint sound an echo of his abyssal laugh. I looked at sleeping Blake, his face unnaturally pale in the dim night light. I couldn't shake the thought, the chilling certainty, that forgetting wasn't protection, but merely a pause. I woke to a faint knocking, not at the door. It was from within, from inside the walls of my room. A tap, followed by a slow scrape, as if something with claws was trying to claw its way through the plaster. My heart raced, a frantic drum in my chest. I felt a cold seep from the bed, a cold not from the air, but from the very essence of pure evil. My trembling hand reached out to touch the wall beside my bed. It was strangely cold, but in one spot, I felt something soft and sticky like wet velvet. I pulled my hand back quickly, and there was a dark red stain on it. I couldn't tell if it was blood or just dye. In that moment, the house's silence turned into a growl. Not a loud sound, but a low, sustained hum, as if the house itself was breathing with difficulty. I heard footsteps ascending the stairs, slow, deliberate, each step heavy on my soul. They weren't Blake's steps, nor my mother's. They were Zippy's. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. Every muscle in my body was frozen by terror. My bedroom door slowly opened, no one appearing at first. Then, in the shadow at the edge of the doorway, I saw a dark red shimmer. A velvet glove. He didn't enter the room. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, blocking the faint light from the hallway. I felt his piercing gaze, even if I couldn't see his eyes. It was that stare that penetrated the soul, the gaze that knew everything you feared and reveled in it. Then, I heard a sound. It wasn't exactly a sound, but almost a sound. A scrape, scrape, scrape. The sound of large hands rising, as if touching the wall. Then I heard a joint crack, closer to bones breaking than human movement. Now is the time, the voice whispered. It was a deep voice, echoing from nothingness, yet carrying Zippy's chilling childlike tone, mixed with something older and more primal. "You've stretched nicely." I didn't just feel fear. I felt recognition. Recognition that this was my end. This was the long-awaited moment. The moment I had been saved for. And as the shadows in the doorway danced, the velvet glove seemed to move slowly, extending its 5 extra fingers. I felt a presence seeping through the gap, filling the room, entering my pores. The last thing I remembered before darkness engulfed me was a cold, viscous sensation, as if something was slowly sliding over my skin. Those were the hands, his hands, trying on my flesh.